The time is at hand.
From Williamson, West Virginia, the gateway to the crackheads, this is In Dark Places. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Today I've got some Skinwalker stories for you. Maybe Wendigo, whatever you want to call it. They're creepy, cryptid guys right here. It happened somewhere between 1997 and 1999. I was in my late teens and we were living in New Mexico up near the Four Corners. My parents were pastors in a local church in a very small town. We had lived outside of town, sort of out in the middle of nowhere, and there were a few houses sprinkled around us. Surrounding was, at least where there were no houses, there was some brush and a lot of desert. Ever since we moved there, the locals told us about skinwalkers. Even people in the church warned us about them. One guy in the church swore up and down that when he was a truck driver, he saw a skinwalker in its human form running alongside his truck when he was going about 80 miles an hour. But since I didn't witness it, I just took him at his word. I had so many different tales on the origins of the skinwalkers, both from the locals and the Native Americans. There was a Native American who went to our church who still held on to his Navajo beliefs, who told me what I always assumed to be a more accurate description. He told me that when people of his tribe had a child out of incest, the tribe leaders would take the baby out into the desert to be raised by wolves. The wolves would raise it, and then it would become a skinwalker, having the powers to turn into anything, animals, humans, etc. The story fascinated me. He just seemed to know for sure that this was the accurate tale. Then he warned me to never whistle at night, which I thought was pretty weird, but I never did until one night. It was in the fall, around 11 p.m. at night. I was in my bedroom, which was the furthest room from anyone in the house and near the garage, watching TV or playing PlayStation. My mother was in the bedroom. My dad was at the church studying, as he always did, till around midnight. My brother had a friend over that night, and we were going to spend the night on the back patio, which was a long rectangular room with screen windows all down it. Like I said, I was in my bedroom, minding my own business, when my brother and his friend came banging on the door. Annoyed, I opened the door, and my brother, who was 4 years younger than me, and his friend are both frightened. My brother said, as they were in the patio goofing off, they heard someone walking around in the backyard and saw what looked like the top of a white bald head walk by the screen windows. Now, normally I would believe my brother, since he would never make this kind of stuff up, but his friend was a huge liar and had told tall tales about having been to Mars, even showing us the red dirt, which looked an awful lot like the red dirt you could find throughout the area, I might add. Of course, by this time, I had experienced a lot of paranormal stuff, but I was still skeptical. Bravely and annoyed, I grabbed my jacket and a flashlight, and the three of us went out on the patio. It was always creepy at night because it was always so dark, and the only light came from a nearby lamppost a few yards down the street. Our backyard was insanely small, except for the right-hand side of it, which was a bit bigger, but had a trampoline, which took up the better part of it. We stepped out of the patio, my flashlight shining around the yard, but saw nothing. That was when I started hearing the crunching of leaves coming from the front yard. So the three of us went through the back gate to the front yard. Now our front yard was huge and had roughly 9 apple trees. There was even a large creepy tree in the corner of the yard near the street I always stayed clear of for some reason. We had a close neighbor, literally on the other side of the wooden fence. It was a nice family that had a daughter about my brother's age, and they also had a bunch of chickens, and sometimes they would wander into our yard. So that is what I thought it was walking around in our front yard. Shining the flashlight around, of course I didn't see any chickens, but I did see something white walk behind a tree near the wooden fence. And that was when I got very curious. The three of us walked slowly to the tree. I was being a protective big brother and kept the other two behind me. Before I knew it, I heard a loud whoosh and felt a gust of wind, like something flew by us. My brother screamed out in pain. My brother always had his shirt off, which annoyed me because back then I was overweight and very self-conscious. But I noticed on his chest he had 3 long scratches across him. Scared and shocked, my brother ran back inside the house, leaving me and his friend. It all happened so quickly, but I ran toward the street where I was sure whatever it was had gone. His friend close behind me. Once we reached the end of our property, I could hear the sound of bare feet running down the paved road. I shined my light toward the sound but never saw anything, so I whistled some tunes, and from down the road I heard the same tune whistle back to me. Intrigued, I whistled again, this time a different tune, and again that same tune was whistled back. My brother's friends started getting scared and kept trying to get me to go back inside, but I was very intrigued. I whistled for a 3rd time, and that was when, very close by, we both heard a male voice say, "Hey kid, come here." There was no hesitation. The 2 of us bolted back inside. We went to tell my mother what happened, and she was already frightened because she was tending to my brother's scratches on his chest. We told her what happened, and my mother told us to stay inside. My mother has had some pretty scary paranormal encounters before, so she believed us. I have never forgotten that encounter. My brother brushes it off these days, making out to be no big deal, but I know differently, as does my mother. It's one of the many incidents in my life that literally bothers me till this day. I have spent lots of time in the Arizona woods, camping, walking, hunting. Walked through them at night alone, many times, to and from hunting locations. Never scared, but one time I was in Springer Villa on the border of New Mexico hunting elk. I stayed up on this little plateau until it got too dark for me to see my rifle scope crosshairs. I started walking back down to the truck about 3 miles away. I was minding my business, not thinking of anything scary or whatever, and then all of a sudden I was hit with this feeling of immense dread, and the forest around me was dead silent. I got the feeling I was being watched. All the hair rose on my arms and neck, and I got instant goosebumps. I froze in place, started looking around, and as the feeling increased, I slung my bolt-action rifle and got out my pistol, thinking I could pump some shots into whatever if it tried to charge. I did a very slow 360 with my pistol at a high ready. Didn't see anything. Mind you, it was almost dark. My voice in my head literally told me, "You need to get off this mountain right now." So I ran with my pistol out. I know you're not supposed to run from predators, but that's how scared I was. I've never felt like that before. I ran so fast, looking over my shoulder about the whole time. It was the fastest and furthest I have ever ran. When I got away from that area a good bit, the feeling subsided and I broke out my flashlight. Had a peaceful walk back to the car, but I checked over my shoulder every few minutes. I don't know what it was, but it was something. And I hope you like those creepy Skinwalker stories. I'll be back in a couple days with a few more. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate you. God bless.